This exercise in bed is all you need for strong legs after 60. It is better than walking. Geriatric doctors use a test that takes just a few seconds to predict who will lose the ability to walk independently in the coming years. And the test does not involve walking. It involves getting up from a chair without using your hands. If that already takes effort for you, there is a reason. The strength that supports that movement comes from a place that walking barely reaches. That is why so many people walk every day and still feel their legs getting weaker and weaker. The body does move, but the muscle that truly matters continues to be barely challenged. That is why today you will see a simple exercise, done right in bed, that strengthens exactly that point. And that will certainly bring more impact to your legs after 60 than any walk ever could. The Japanese love this exercise, and interestingly, they are the people with the greatest longevity in the world. Because you can do it quickly in bed, there is no excuse of not having enough time or not wanting to go to the gym. Stay tuned until the end, because we will also show you extra exercises to further strengthen the other muscle groups in your legs. Before we begin, please leave a comment with your name and the city you are watching from. We would love to know. Exercise number 1, seated knee extension. Sit on the edge of the bed with your spine straight and your feet flat on the floor. This is the first movement in our sequence, and it directly targets the quadriceps, the muscle group responsible for practically everything that involves standing up, climbing stairs, and most importantly, getting up from a chair without needing to push off with your hands. Remember the test that geriatric doctors use? That is exactly the strength we are working on here. Research published in geriatric journals shows that quadriceps strength is directly linked to functional independence after the age of 60, making it one of the primary predictors of falls and loss of mobility. In other words, strengthening this muscle is not about appearance. It is about continuing to walk on your own 2 legs for the decades ahead. To perform the exercise, keep your back straight and your hands resting on the bed beside your body for stability. Extend one leg fully out in front of you, squeezing the quadriceps firmly at the top of the movement, as if you were trying to lock the knee for just a moment. Hold that contraction for 2 seconds and then lower the leg in a controlled manner, without letting your foot drop to the floor. An extra tip that makes a real difference is to flex your foot, pulling your toes towards you during the extension. This increases quadriceps recruitment and prevents the movement from being compensated by the hip. A common mistake is performing the movement too quickly, using momentum instead of muscular effort. When that happens, the knee absorbs the impact instead of the muscle, and the exercise loses nearly all of its effect. Another frequent error is rounding the back during the extension, which removes tension from the quadriceps and unnecessarily overloads the lower back. Start with 2 to 3 sets of 10 to 12 repetitions on each leg, always respecting your own pace. As you feel greater strength and stability, you can progress by increasing to 3 sets of 15 repetitions, or simply by holding the final contraction for longer, moving from 2 to 4 seconds. This exercise is generally well tolerated, even by those who feel discomfort while walking, but people with acute knee pain, active joint inflammation, or who have recently undergone surgery in that area should avoid full extension and seek professional guidance before including this movement in their routine. Exercise number 2, prone leg curl. Now lie face down on the bed with your legs extended and your arms bent to support your head comfortably. This is the movement that balances the work done in the previous exercise, because while the seated knee extension strengthens the front of the thigh, the prone leg curl strengthens the hamstrings, a muscle group that the vast majority of people forget to train entirely. What many people do not know is that the imbalance between the quadriceps and the hamstrings is one of the leading causes of knee pain and instability over the years. Training both sides of that joint, and not just the front, is what ensures real stability for walking, squatting, and climbing steps without feeling that uncomfortable catching sensation in the knee. To perform it correctly, bend one knee, bringing your heel towards your glute, as if you were trying to touch the back of your thigh with your foot. Perform the movement in a controlled manner, feeling the contraction in the hamstrings through every inch of the range of motion. Then return the leg slowly to the starting position without simply letting it drop. The extra tip here is to pause for 1 second at the moment when your heel is closest to your glute, increasing the time under tension and muscle activation at that specific point of the movement. A common mistake is lifting the hip off the bed during the curl, trying to compensate for a lack of range of motion with trunk movement. This removes all efficiency from the exercise and can also create discomfort in the lower back. Keep the hip pressed against the bed at all times, moving only the leg. 2 to 3 sets of 10 to 15 repetitions on each side are recommended. To progress, gradually increase the pause time at peak contraction, or move from 2 to 3 sets as the muscle adapts to the stimulus. People with acute lower back pain, A herniated disc in an active phase or severe knee flexion limitations due to recent surgery should perform this movement with extra caution and ideally with clearance from a healthcare professional. Exercise number 3, glute bridge. Still lying down, now on your back. Bend your knees and place your feet flat on the bed, close to your hips. This is probably the most underestimated exercise on the list, and the competition is not small. The glute bridge activates the gluteus maximus, which is, interestingly, the largest muscle in the human body. Most people go their entire lives without ever intentionally training this muscle, and then wonder why their lower back hurts so much at the end of the day. The beauty of this exercise lies in its ability to strengthen the gluteus maximus while also recruiting the hamstrings and the core as stabilizers, functioning almost like a complete posterior chain workout in a single simple movement, done lying in your own bed. To perform it, push your hips upward using the strength of your glutes, not your back, until your body forms a straight line between your shoulders and your knees. At the top of the movement, squeeze your glutes as hard as possible for 2 seconds, as if you were trying to hold a coin between your cheeks. Yes, the analogy is a bit strange, but it works very well for teaching the correct activation. Then lower slowly without letting your hips drop to the bed between repetitions. An extremely common mistake is using the lower back to push the hips up, arching the back instead of squeezing the glutes. This not only reduces the muscular work, but can also create discomfort in the lower back over time. Feeling the glutes contract firmly at the top is the sign that you are on the right track. Do 2 to 3 sets of 12 to 15 repetitions. As a simple progression, you can increase the contraction time at the top, moving from 2 to 4 seconds, or raise the number of repetitions to 20 before adding another set. Pregnant women in advanced stages, people with recent lower back injuries, or those with acute hip pain should adapt the range of motion or avoid the exercise until they receive specific medical guidance. Exercise number 4, seated heel raise. Remain seated on the edge of the bed with your feet flat on the floor, hip width apart. This exercise works the calves intensively, a muscle that many people completely ignore, yet it is known among physiologists as the body's second heart. This is because the calf muscle helps pump blood back up to the heart, working against the force of gravity with every step you take. Beyond its circulatory function, the calf plays a major role in balance. When it loses strength, the body loses part of its ability to make the small automatic adjustments needed when walking on uneven surfaces, which considerably increases the risk of falls. Strengthening this area is, in practice, an extra layer of protection against trips and slips. To perform the exercise, keep your feet flat on the floor and raise your heels as high as you can, rising onto the balls of your feet for a moment, before lowering in a controlled manner without letting your heel drop abruptly back to the floor. The extra tip here is to vary the position of your feet across sets. In one set, keep your feet parallel. In another, point your toes inward, and in another, point them outward. Each position recruits slightly different fibers within the calf, ensuring more complete development. A common mistake is performing the movement too quickly and with a short range of motion, only rising halfway. Because the calf is composed mainly of slow-twitch fibers, it responds much better to longer, controlled sets than to explosive, short movements. 2 to 3 sets of 15 to 20 repetitions are recommended, respecting this characteristic of the muscle. To progress, increase the time you hold the highest position, moving from 1 to 3 seconds of pause before even thinking about increasing the number of repetitions. People with frequent and intense calf cramps, recent leg thrombosis, or acute ankle pain should speak with a doctor before including this movement in their routine. Exercise number 5, knee to chest lying down. Lie on your back on the bed with your legs extended. This last exercise of the first block closes the cycle by working the hip flexors, the muscle group responsible for lifting the thigh with every step you take. When these muscles are weak, the body tends to drag the leg instead of lifting it actively, which increases the risk of tripping over small obstacles, like a loose rug or a slightly higher step. When you include this movement in your routine, in addition to strengthening the hip flexors, you also gently stretch the lower back and the glutes, relieving that feeling of stiffness that often appears right after waking up. To perform it, bring one knee toward your chest, gently assisting with your hands clasped just below the knee without pulling with excessive force. Hold for a few seconds, feeling the stretch in the lower back and the glute of the bent leg, then slowly return the leg to the starting position on the bed. To make the movement more active and not just a stretch, try to complete part of the path without the help of your hands, using only the strength of the hip to raise the knee before finishing the movement with your hands. A common mistake is pulling the knee with brute force, creating uncomfortable compression in the hip joint instead of a gentle and progressive stretch. Remember that the goal here is purposeful comfort, not discomfort. Another frequent error is holding your breath during the movement, which increases unnecessary tension throughout the entire body. Breathe calmly and steadily, inhaling before bringing the knee up and exhaling as it approaches your chest. Do 2 to 3 sets of 8 to 10 repetitions on each leg, holding the final position for about 15 to 20 seconds. As a progression, gradually increase the time you hold the final position, working up to 30 seconds as flexibility improves. People with a recent hip replacement, a diagnosed inguinal hernia, or acute lower back pain should avoid pulling the knee forcefully and ideally seek professional guidance before practicing this movement. With these 5 exercises, each one targeting a major muscle group in the legs, you already have what you need for strong legs. But the 3 that follow amplify results even further and are worth adding to your routine, even if with less frequency. Extra exercise number 1, ankle circles. Lying on your back on the bed, extend one leg upward, lightly supporting the back of the thigh with your hands if you need more stability. This movement is not about brute strength. It is about maintaining a joint that most people only remember exists once it has already stiffened up, the ankle. A mistake I see many people make is focusing only on strength exercises and completely forgetting about joint mobility. The ankle is the foundation of all leg movement, and a stiff joint there directly affects the way you walk, distribute your body weight, and maintain balance when stepping on uneven surfaces. To perform the movement, rotate your foot slowly, drawing complete circles in the air with your toes, as if you were writing the number 8 with your foot. Do a set number of repetitions rotating clockwise, then reverse the direction and rotate counterclockwise. The extra tip here is to try to make the circles as wide as possible, exploring the full range of motion the ankle allows, rather than making small, tight rotations that barely work the joint at all. A common mistake is performing the movement too quickly, almost as if just checking off a task. Because this is a mobility and proprioception exercise, slow and controlled movement is what truly brings the benefit, allowing the brain to better register the position of the joint in space. 10 to 15 repetitions in each direction for each leg are recommended. As a progression, you can simply increase the number of repetitions or reduce the rest time between one side and the other, making the sequence more fluid. This exercise is generally safe for nearly all populations, but people with recent ankle fractures, severe sprains still in recovery, or those using immobilization devices should wait for full medical clearance before resuming circular movements. As a simple alternative, if keeping the leg extended feels uncomfortable, you can perform the circles with your foot resting on the bed, keeping only the ankle free to move. Extra exercise number 2, pillow squeeze. Still lying on your back, bend your knees, place your feet flat on the bed, and put a pillow between your knees. This exercise works the adductors, the muscles along the inner thigh, a region that is often left out of the vast majority of training routines, despite playing a fundamental role in walking stability. To perform it correctly, press your knees together, squeezing the pillow with as much force as you can generate, feeling the contraction along the inner thighs. Hold that pressure for a few seconds and then release slowly, without letting the tension go abruptly. An interesting extra tip is to exhale fully at the moment of peak contraction, which helps activate the core muscles alongside the adductors, making the exercise more complete. What many people do not know is that the adductors work together with the gluteus medius to stabilize the pelvis with every step. When this inner muscle group is weak, the hip tends to sway from side to side while walking, which wastes unnecessary energy and can create discomfort in the lower back over time. A common mistake is using the wrong pillow, one that is too large or too soft, which does not offer enough resistance to generate a true contraction. If that is the case for you, a simple alternative is to fold a thick towel or use a small, firm ball in place of the pillow. Do 10 to 15 repetitions, holding each contraction for about 5 seconds. As a progression, gradually increase the contraction time, working up to 10 seconds per repetition before thinking about increasing the total number of repetitions in the set. People with acute groin pain, recent adductor injuries, or those who have undergone hip surgery should reduce the intensity of the squeeze or avoid the exercise until they receive appropriate medical guidance. It is worth noting that just as the gluteus medius provides stability from the outside of the hip, the adductors do the equivalent job from the inside, and training both sides is what ensures a truly stable pelvis. Extra exercise number 3, lateral leg raise. Lie on your side on the bed with your legs extended one on top of the other and your head resting on your arm or a pillow. This is the last exercise in our sequence, and it finishes strong because it works the gluteus medius and the hip abductors, small muscles that are extremely important for anyone who wants to walk with stability after 60. I have observed that a large portion of falls in older adults happen to the side, not forward or backward. This is directly related to the strength of the gluteus medius, as it is the primary muscle responsible for stabilizing the hip laterally with every step. When this muscle is weak, the body loses part of its ability to correct small lateral imbalances in real time. To perform the exercise, keep the top leg extended and raise it slowly toward the ceiling, without rotating the hip backward during the movement. Raise it as far as you can in a controlled manner without feeling pain. Then lower the leg slowly until it is just above the bottom leg, without letting the weight drop with each repetition. The extra tip here is to keep your foot pointing forward throughout the entire raise, not toward the ceiling, which prevents other muscles from taking over the work that should be done by the gluteus medius. A very common mistake is raising the leg too quickly, using momentum instead of controlled muscular contraction, or rotating the hip backward to gain more height in the movement. This drastically reduces the activation of the gluteus medius and can create discomfort in the lower back. 10 to 15 repetitions on each side in 2 to 3 sets are recommended. As a simple progression, increase the pause time at the highest point of the movement, moving from 1 to 3 seconds before increasing the number of repetitions. People with acute hip bursitis, intense lower back pain, or those who have recently undergone hip surgery should reduce the range of motion or avoid the exercise until they receive a medical evaluation. If you feel unstable when lying on your side, placing a pillow between your knees during the exercise can bring more comfort to the pelvic region. If you enjoyed this and would also like to see the 4 most popular exercises you should never do after 60, we have a video appearing on screen right now showing each one of them. Make sure to check it out. Thank you for watching all the way through, and may God bless you, my friend.